I think very quietly the LA Rams have formed a squad that is going to be one of the best teams in the NFC West this year. They're really only going to be competing with the San Francisco 49ers for the division, as I don't see the Seattle Seahawks or Arizona Cardinals being a team that is going for that top spot. And offensively, they are going to pretty much rival the San Francisco 49ers as having the best offense in the NFC, really. Um, it's a team last year that was eighth in scoring already, seventh in yards, sixth in turnovers, 10th in passing, and 11th in rushing. And they add to that by improving the offensive line with guard Jonah Jackson, and they improve around the edges with some of their players that they acquired. You get Boston Scott in free agency. You get tight end Colby Parkinson from Seattle, and you add Blake Corum in the draft as well. But they really did not have much that they needed to add. So offensively, this team is going to be even better than they were last year, and they were already pretty good. Not to mention, they played a majority of their year last year without Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua in the lineup with each other. And if you give Matthew Stafford a full season with those two in the lineup, I think we could see a pretty historic year for this offense. It was the defensive side of the ball that somewhat let this team down last year, although they weren't as bad as some of the other defenses around the league. 19th in scoring, 20th in yards, 30th in turnovers, 20th against the pass, and 12th against the run. But again, they improved this side of the ball, with their first 5 of 6 draft picks being on the defensive side of the ball, highlighted by names Jared Verse in the first round, Brandon Fisk in the second, and Cameron Kitchens in the third round. They've done a lot to improve through the draft and through free agency. They add cornerbacks Jerry Jacobs, Tre'Davious White, and Darius Williams, as well as safety Cameron Curl. They have added enough talent on this defense to become better, and they've added enough offensively to supplement what they were missing last year. It's going to be a very dynamic offense. It's obviously going to be highlighted by Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, and Cooper Kupp. But there's also going to be guys like Kyren Williams. There's going to be guys like Tutu Atwell. There's going to be guys like Tyler Higbee that are going to do the little things, but also still be very relevant pieces on this offense to make them, like I said, one of the best offenses in the NFC and one of the best offenses in the NFL in general. Now, what is going to hurt is this team is not going to have Aaron Donald for the first time in 10 years. And not only was Aaron Donald the best player on this Rams team for the last few years, he's one of the best players in the NFL, in the history of the NFL. And he completely changed the thought process behind an undersized defensive lineman in the NFL through what he was able to do. And so that's definitely going to be missed, especially when you have young defensive linemen like Jared Verse, like a Brandon Fisk, who you would love to learn how to play this game under Aaron Donald. But unfortunately, they're not going to have that. I'm not going to call that he's going to come back to the NFL, but this is one of those situations where I totally would not be surprised if Aaron Donald saw this team at 8-3 through their first 11 weeks of the year and decided, I could play half a season. I have one more playoff run in me. I could totally see that happening. The defense as a whole, though, I mean, I absolutely love what they have defensively. I've already mentioned Jared Verse and Brandon Fisk. They have Kobe Turner at defensive tackle. They have a pretty solid secondary with Cameron Curl, who comes over from Washington. John Johnson, who they bring back, was one of the staples of this defense for a long time. Young guys, Cameron Kitchens. There's a lot here defensively, and there's a lot of depth as well. You have guys like Michael Hoyt, who have played a lot of positions for this team. He's been with this team for a long time now. You have veteran guys like Darius, or not Darius, but Tre'Davious White. You have, I think, one of the better secondaries in the NFC. And as a whole, this defense is going to be supplementary to what their offense is able to do. And I think this is going to be a team that has to win with their offense and is going to rely on their defense to just get enough takeaways throughout the year, to just put enough pressure on the opposing quarterback, to just stop the run enough to say that the offense doesn't have to be perfect every drive, but when they do their damage, the defense can help them out. The LA Rams are going to be a team that's featured on primetime a lot this year. You begin the season with a Sunday night football game at the Detroit Lions to begin the season. And then you have 2 Thursday night football games, one against the Minnesota Vikings at home and one at the San Francisco 49ers. And then another Sunday night football game against Philly and another Monday night football game against Miami. But they also are going to have a lot of games that are on the schedule this year that are probably going to be pretty highly anticipated games as well. San Francisco in week 3, Green Bay in week 5. It's a pretty tough schedule, I would say, as a whole. The LA Rams are not going to have anything easy given to them this year. As like I'm saying, they got a pretty tough schedule. I'd say really the weakest opponent they have is Arizona. But, anything can happen in those divisional games, so I can't really say that Arizona is going to be a weak game for them on the schedule. I'll set the floor for this team. The floor for this team could totally be 7-10. If this schedule just completely overwhelms them, I could totally see a 7-10, 8-9, 6-11 type season for this team. But the ceiling is definitely going to be 11-6, 12-5. They have all the capabilities offensively to be the ones setting the bar in the NFC in terms of who the teams to be are this year. And I really don't see a reason why they aren't going to do that outside of possible health concerns, or, again, if they just get overwhelmed by the schedule week after week. They have an incredible opponent across the field from them. So it's not going to be anything easy for LA this year. But LA, there is also the factor of losing Raheem Morris, their defensive coordinator, Zach Robinson, their offensive coordinator. There's a lot of changes in LA on their coaching staff, but the main guy is still there. Sean McVay is still there. And I think he's been one of the best coaches in the NFL in terms of getting the most out of a roster that he can. So I really have no worries for the LA Rams going into this season. Again, outside of possible health concerns, but every team has that. And if they stay healthy, the LA Rams are going to be one of the best teams in the NFL this year.